Hello, everyone. Welcome and thank you for being a part of this Ask the Faculty Q&A panel for the New Student Welcome Week. If we could begin by having the panelists introduce themselves and what they teach.
Hi, I'm Rachel Dodson, and I teach business, marketing, and finance here at the college.
I'm Jessie Lewis, and I teach English and composition at the college.
Hi, I'm Allison Thompson, and I teach communication courses.
And my name's Ian Hare, and I teach biology at the Middletown campus.
I'm Kathy Ware, and I teach health information management.
I'm Ashley Burns, and I teach chemistry at the Middletown campus.
I'm Jenny Van Kuren. I teach English, Comp, and American Lit.
I'm Ruth Holmes, and I teach College Comp and British Lit.
And I'm Naomi Simpson, and I teach communication classes at the Middletown campus.
Wonderful. Thank you again to all the panelists to make this possible. And thank you to all the students that are attending. Looks like none so far, but we here at the SGA put some questions together, and thankfully this is being recorded to get us started. And any students that join will address your questions accordingly. So let us begin. The SGA, we put these questions together and really focusing on the whole COVID, like just not really knowing. So in terms of what are classroom and attendance expectations and what types of assignments and activities and deadlines and pacing, what can students expect in these different types of course styles, such as synchronous, asynchronous, and on-campus classes and labs?
So I'll go ahead and start with this one. Again, my name is Rachel Dodson. So I am the program lead for our business and accounting programs here at the college. So this semester, we really have two different class types for students to take. You can either be taking a fully asynchronous online class, or you will be taking a synchronous optional course. So those fully asynchronous online courses are your traditional online courses where your information is uploaded to Canvas, it's available to you. For the most part, you can work at your own pace. Your faculty are going to include a number of different resources to help you move through that material. Whereas in the synchronous optional courses, our faculty will be present on a weekly basis during the class meeting time, which is posted in your student information area of the course notes. And they will be doing lecture, discussion. You might be working in small groups on case studies and projects. But if the course is scheduled for 11 to 12:20 on a Monday, then your instructor will be there and will be available. As always, faculty are available outside the classroom by appointment and for office hours. Primarily in terms of pacing, this semester we have courses being offered in the 14-week format, which will start next week on the 24th. We also have several options at the 12-week, and we do have some first 8-week and some second 8-week courses as well. So we want for students to be engaged in the classroom. We're hoping for a very dynamic course environment. We know things are different, but we are here to help you and make sure that you are successful.
So I'll take over from there. I know just for my courses, they're going to be taught generally how they would have been taught face-to-face for my synchronous courses. So there'll be online notes available, but then there'll also be our Zoom sessions where I will sit and do the notes and annotate. You'll be free to ask questions about problem sets live with me. And then those will be posted online on Canvas for you to view at a later date, or if you're unable to be there live, then you can view them later. My other class is Asynchronous, which is online, so there'll also be just recordings of me doing the notes for you to watch each week, along with problem sets and quizzes that are due. You have basically, instead of a set due date, it'll be, like 1 to 2 weeks to complete assignments rather than a hard, it has to be due on this date. It'll give you some more time to kind of work things at your own pace compared to the synchronous class, which will have a little bit more stricter deadlines because we're doing the notes together and are expected to be completing things at the same time. And that's all I have about for mine.
Hi, again, I'm Allison Thompson. I'm teaching communication courses, and I'm actually only the synchronous option this semester. I don't have any asynchronous, but for mine, I actually selected the occasional remote optional one. So we won't be meeting weekly. We'll be meeting once every other week. And I will be kind of first starting out with a question and answer time for students. And then after that, depending on the time, we'll do discussion or an activity or something along those lines. And for me, my courses are kind of designed on a weekly basis. So each week you'll have a schedule that has a chart that has everything laid out to you. Like, this is the reading you're doing. These are the assignments that are due. Here's when they're due. So each week you'll have a guide that says specifically, this is what I'm looking for you to do this week. My husband, who's not on here right now, but he is Joseph Walls. He teaches English at the Fauquier campus. He groups his in 2-week sessions. So it really just kind of depends on your professor what the pacing is going to be like. But that's kind of how mine are going to get set up, and I'll explain more of my class a little bit later in this question and answer session.
I'm Kathy Ware. I teach HIM, and for the main HIM courses, we are all online for them. The medical term courses, I have a few of those that are hybrid, and we will be having synchronous classes that are optional, which is going to be on Tuesdays at 5 o'clock. And it is considered, it was put in the system as hybrid, so we won't necessarily be meeting every single week in that particular course, but we'll be meeting often. For my other HIM courses, we will be having asynchronous office hours for a few of them, particularly the HIM coding, CPT coding, which I really need students to, I really need to check in and make sure we're all on the same page on that. And so we will be selecting a time that suits as many students as possible through a survey at the beginning of the semester next week. And once I figure out how many students or the majority of students who can meet on which particular day, we will set that up, and then I will record it for students who couldn't attend to join us.
So in other words, we want to be able to define the difference between synchronous and asynchronous. So every class is a little bit different in terms of what has been chosen. Asynchronous being traditional online, and then synchronous meaning everybody has to be in one place, or people can be in one place and then see the lecture recorded later. So for those specifics, you want to pay attention to the syllabus. You just need to know when you're signing up for a course if you need to be there for a certain time, or if it's asynchronous and it's more of an online class.
Wonderful, very, very thorough. In regards to the synchronous class, so faculty will be meeting face-to-face with students via Zoom. And the classes will be recorded, I believe it was just said, and shared with the students. Would that be on Canvas? Or where would students find that?
They can be put on, they will be put on Canvas. They also, you can load a Zoom button or tab on Canvas. That usually links to just the Zoom meeting, but yes, they are put on Canvas.
So kind of going off of that, the way that I'm planning to handle the synchronous sessions and those recordings is to, once the recording finishes processing from Zoom, upload that into Canvas, and then have it with the rest of that day's or that week's module information in there. So there is a plan to put those recordings in Canvas for most of us that are doing the recordings. they'll be there and shared with students and available when you need them.
Just to reiterate what Naomi said, I agree. We will be posting them after they're recorded. And I know students might be kind of nervous about the fact that we're not on campus, we're doing this online. So how are we still going to have this interaction that students really appreciate from being on campus? And I know for several of us faculty members, we are planning on using that time in the synchronous sessions to really connect with students and make sure that they understand concepts and maybe put them in breakout groups so they can talk to each other or things along those lines. So don't feel like, oh, because the switch to online, I'm just going to be sitting behind a computer and not having any interaction or not having really quality time with my faculty or my fellow classmates. So I just want to encourage everyone that they don't have to feel like because it's synchronous but it's still online, we're still able to use a lot of the same teaching techniques that we might have used on campus.
So I think one of the things that you might be hearing from a lot of us is about flexibility, and that's really what the semester is about. We know that your lives have been impacted in large ways. In many cases, you're working full-time, you're trying to take a full load of classes, you might be caring for an older family member or young children, and we do want to be as flexible as possible. You know, in our area, in the business area, even though it says synchronous optional and it's optional for the student, it is not optional for the faculty member. So they will be there, they will be present, they'll be leading lectures and discussions, they'll be participating with you, they'll be answering questions, and yes, it will be recorded so that you can view later. But we do encourage you to attend those sessions as much as possible. Because we do feel like it's important to have engagement not only with your instructor, but also with your peers. And that's really what the college experience is about.
All right, wonderful. In terms of labs and their like lab classes, what do they look like and what precautions are being taken?
Okay, I can take that one. So I'm a biology faculty at Middletown, so I can speak to that pretty closely because the vast majority of labs that are offered this semester are going to be online, but there are going to be some that are offered in person should students choose to enroll in those. And those are for biology, certain sections of Bio 150, which is introductory microbiology, and I know that for chemistry, the organic chemistry laboratory is being offered online. And to my knowledge, that's about all that I'm aware of that'll have an in-person option. And I'm just talking science, I'm not talking some of the health professions. They have a different thing going. But for the vast majority of labs, they'll be online, which means that the activities and things that you would normally be covering in person will still be covered online and through a variety of methods. So, for example, if you're thinking about enrolling in Bio 101, a lot of the experiments are going to be set up where you can do them at home using sort of, we call it a kitchen chemistry approach, where you can use materials from around the house to do the same experiments. We provide videos, and just like we have in lecture, different online activities that will give you cover the same subject matter and be able to communicate that with you in a flexible fashion. I teach microbiology, so I can vouch that for micro and some of the other courses, we also use online simulations. So you may purchase a subscription. So if you've ever used Mastering or any of those online subscriptions for other courses, we've set up some of the courses, mine being one of them, that you buy a subscription to a online simulation package that allows you to actually drag and click and do a lot of the things on a computer screen virtually. So we have a variety of ways that we're tackling it online, just depending on the course that you're taking. Ashley may be able to speak more to how that's being done in chemistry. But if you are doing something in person, which again is just some micro classes and the health professions, and also organic, we're taking into account state guidelines for safety. So basically the way that it's going to work is I won't go into the details of all the guidelines, but the biggest one is spacing in rooms. We're limiting the number of people that can be in a room. So based on square footage and social distancing parameters. So we're going to try to have basically one student at a table spaced out. And if you do the math, that means that an entire class can't be in the room at one time. So what most of these courses are doing is they're breaking the class into 3 or 4 sections, clusters of, let's say, 6 students. And on what would normally be a lab that you would do on week 1, you'll have one group meet one week, and then the next group meet the next, and so on and so on. So over the course of 3 or 4 weeks, you'd have everybody doing the same lab, but just in clusters. So if you're in one of these courses, you'll still be in person, but you're not going to be doing every single lab in person. It's be sort of like a hybrid where you do some in person and the rest of it will be done online using the methods that I described earlier. But while you're there, it'll be masks will be mandatory, just like anywhere else on campus. Spacing will be provided, and we're also taking measures so that you aren't touching similar objects or places while you're doing that.
Wonderful. All right. In terms of what are office hours and what are they used for?
So I'll go ahead and get started. I think for me, I despise calling office hours. I think there's this notion or understanding from students that, oh, that's the hours that the professor is going to be in the office, and they're not really focused on doing anything for students. They're working on their work to get it done. And that is a complete myth. And so really and truly our office hours are here specifically for you, for students, to be able to ask questions, get answers, provide some mentoring, help you figure out steps and avenues for internships and those kinds of things. But myself, I know I want you to come to office hours. I want to have those conversations with you. And as much as you miss the office hours, or as much as you miss being on campus, we miss you just as much.
All right. Adding on to that, office hours are usually placed in the syllabus. Would there be a Zoom link in most teachers' syllabuses, I'm guessing?
So how it works is I believe that they generally you set up the Zoom through Canvas itself. And so the professor has to be logged on all the time to have that work. So that's a little bit tricky just for data and being on there all the time. So I believe, and if people are doing this differently, they can correct me. Most people are saying to make Zoom appointments so that they all can kind of, like, I would send out an email when someone requests that with the Zoom link, and then it's set up for a clear set time, which in in-person classes, that's pretty common, right? When somebody wants to make sure that they see you. And sometimes these actually work better than just having kind of a general office hour because it's just more intentional. So there's that option. For a lot of people, what they do is they set up, they have their email going. So just like I would normally just working in my office, I would have my email going so that I can immediately respond and immediately Zoom with somebody if they want. So during that time period. What's nice about this too is somebody can pop in during my office hour and say, hey, can I meet you tomorrow? And I can still say yes and then meet with them even if it's not in my office hour. I can set up an appointment that way. So it's really all about recognizing that your professor is available during that time in whatever way they say on their syllabus, and then taking advantage of that as best as they can. It can take a little bit more effort from a student just because you're not like walking past the office or it's not as obvious that they're there, but it is highly, highly recommended they still take advantage of it, because these are definite moments where it can be really nice to get some feedback. I did one last semester, or excuse me, over the summer, and I set it up so my student could share his desktop with me, and I went through his paper with him, and it was fantastic for his final research paper. So it's an awesome chance for people to check in.
Yeah, and I would encourage you to think outside of just the office hours that are scheduled as well, because most faculty are going to be very happy to meet with you at a time that works for your schedule. Most faculty also have not only daytime office hours, but they'll have a couple hours in the evening, because again, we know that sometimes you're working on things a little bit later than normally we would, or later into the night. So, and don't be scared if a faculty member responds to you at 2 a.m. in the morning, something I've done before, but I can't promise that everyone will do that. So please do take advantage of those office hours. We want to meet with you and we want to get to know with you on a more personal basis.
Wonderful. Yeah. And speaking from experience, I had Miss Lewis as my English teacher for 112, and I used her office hours, and it helped tremendously. So definitely recommended to all students to take advantage of that and get that one-on-one time and feedback and advice. So when using Zoom and Canvas for help, or I mean for class, what would be Zoom etiquette for students?
To unmute myself here. Here we go. Okay, so for Zoom etiquette, we do have some things that we've kind of pointed out recently, because I think some students have this, it's a little bit tricky to figure this out. So we do want students to use their real names on Zoom. So when they log in, have their real name. It can be funny to not, but at the same time, it can be very confusing for us, especially if we have a class that's over 10 people. And then we also have the background option, right? When somebody fills in that background, and we commonly give a blank background or a template if somebody doesn't want that background to show up behind them. Most faculty really want you to use your camera so that it's not just the picture, just to show that you're involved. Sometimes that doesn't work as well. Sometimes people have issues with what's going on in their house around them. So communicating with your professor about that might be a good idea. We have the fact that if we have synchronous Zoom sessions, we still want that same kind of code of conduct that you would use in a classroom. So in terms of, you come in with on time with a quiet location behind you. You mute yourself if you have a lot of stuff going on, and then you want to be able to completely participate. So if you need to, you got to have your earphones. If you need to move to a quieter place, or if there's something where you don't have quite the right signal, you want to figure that out, and then the next time you have to Zoom, you want to find a way to do that better. You'll notice that your professor will commonly have to do this if Zoom comes in and out. What's awesome about this is if you get really jammed and you can't figure out why your internet service isn't working well, LFCC is offering some labs for this. They also actually have a Wi-Fi parking lot as well, so that you can set yourself up there. But really, it's all about just trying to mimic as much as you can the actual attendance that you would have in a traditional classroom. And then that way your professor can see you and your fellow students can see you, and we can get as close to that experience as we can.
I'm going to tack on to that. If you're worried about talking over top of someone or making sure that you're seen as part of that participation in the etiquette, everybody has a chance to show, as you can see in my box, some kind of reaction. Maybe it's a thumbs up, you appreciate something. Also in the chat, I think it's chat, maybe it's the participants. If you click on that on the bottom, you can raise a hand and answer yes, no, to get feedback to each other and to the professor as well, which is a way to interact, but also make sure you don't cut somebody off.
All right. For the teachers that have final exams and just big tests, how is test proctoring and recording going to happen?
I can answer that if nobody else is already prepared. Okay, yeah, sorry, I just wasn't sure if anyway. So I've experienced this in the past with other online courses that I've taught, and it's really hard to answer to an extent because it depends on what do you define as poor, the difference between slow and spotty and whatnot. I would say that, for most Canvas quizzes, which is how a lot of the assessments will be provided this semester, in my opinion, it's pretty low in the data department as far as what it requires. But if you're taking an exam that's going to be, requiring video monitoring or something like that, and you're concerned about bandwidth, as Professor Lewis mentioned a second ago, There's Wi-Fi available on campus, and it's smoking fast. It's really great. And if you're worried about going into the building for any reason, you can access it in the parking lots. So if you park next, like I've done it before, where you park next to the SHP, the Science and Health Professions building, you can get a full signal, do your thing, and head out, and you'll never have to leave your car. That's a nice, it's a nice backup plan in case internet connectivity is an issue. But if you do have a problem, you can email your professor, and typically, if there's an issue with the test, we can reset it or work with you. Just if you do have a problem, to try to make an effort to correct it forward by, driving to campus or something of that nature to take your test.
Yeah, communication is really key with that one. Just making sure that your professor knows what problems you're having, if any, and doing it fairly quickly too, just so that things can be fixed quickly.
And I would add, I know that we all like to procrastinate, but trying not to wait till the last possible day to take that test before the due date, and then discover that you have issues and now you're in a panic. Try to get it done a little earlier, so that in that time frame, if possible, and I know that can be hard, but so that if there are issues, they can be worked out easily and not under a time constraint.
All right. This is a pretty broad question, but do teachers at LFCC do research projects students can be involved in?
So I'll kind of take that one. I wouldn't say that I have the corner on the truth on that particular question, or the answer to that particular question. In general, most of the faculty that are teaching at community colleges are dedicated to the craft of teaching and learning. And when it gets down to it, we would love to be able to do extra research projects. We would love to be able to collaborate with our students on different projects they may have or they may be interested in, and it may be different in other disciplines, but unfortunately we don't necessarily have all of the time in the world. So some of the things where you might see an LFCC professor that has some kind of research project or research going on is if your professor is working on a graduate degree. A lot of times for the PhDs in programs like community college leadership or communication or something like that, they have to complete some type of project. And sometimes, depending on the scope of their own research and the focus of their own project, they may be asking to interview students and that kind of thing. And all of that interview protocol, permission to be able to do that has to go through our own institutional review process, and permission has to be granted to do that. That doesn't mean that it's not available. It's just not as frequently available as you would see at a four-year institution. The other element that I think is important to note is that there are lots of programs that require internships or clinicals. And in these programs, you will work closely with your professor or your clinical professor or whomever that may be to schedule time at your clinical or internship location to be able to complete and work on those projects themselves. But for the most part, it may be different. There may be other options that are available, but always a conversation worth having with your professor.
All right. What classes are available in person?
So I, in the business area, am part of the School of Professional Studies, and there are just a few specific courses that are actually going to be held in person this semester, primarily if it's a business or accounting or health information management or IT course, that is going to be held online. But some programs like dental hygiene, the electrical program, our emergency medical services, our medical laboratory technician, and our nursing classes will be held on campus and in person. primarily because the majority of those require some type of either internship or clinical requirement, or some type of hours that have to be completed in order for you to fulfill the degree or graduation requirements.
And there's some other courses that I alluded to earlier that'll also be in person. So I can speak that microbiology has some sections of in person for the laboratory component. None of the lectures, to my knowledge, are face to face, but some Bio 150 labs are. And you can see, like, you can look on SIS and see which ones are and which ones aren't. But something on that note, I forgot to mention earlier is regarding labs, also make sure to be in contact and look at the Canvas course for your lab, because some labs require kits for you guys to come and pick up from Canvas, and you'll get instructions from your instructor regarding those. But I think actually Professor Burns, she's got some info possibly on chemistry, maybe organic, as far as whether it'll be face-to-face or not.
Yeah, organic is the only lab that we would be holding on campus. All chemistry labs will be done through something called Pivot Interactives. It's a Vernier technology. The school actually covered the cost for students to use it. So there will be no cost for labs for the semester for chemistry. But organic, that's different. You'll be in the lab. I know the classes are small, so spacing and things like that aren't going to be an issue. At this point, I think there's only like 8 students enrolled in the lab, so there'll be plenty of spacing and mask wearing and everything going on for the labs.
All right, for those limited in-person classes, guessing there is a mask wearing policy.
Yes, we do have a mask wearing policy that we've had to write up and implement as part of our return to campus plan that we had to submit to our colleagues at the VCCS and SHEV to get approval to reopen. And so that process was very similar to what some of your local high school divisions went through in getting approval from their school board to reopen and that kind of thing. But you can almost guarantee that every location that you would be on campus, you are going to need to wear a face mask, especially during the face-to-face classrooms or lab sessions. So the face masks are required in all of the indoor spaces, regardless of that physical distancing. And then only in the outdoor spaces where you are more than 6 feet apart from someone else are going to be the places where those masks are not required. Although it might not be ideal for transmitting the sound, you might have a little, you might have a harder time hearing someone in the face mask. But faculty and students, we will need to be able to speak in them. And that means that we're going to speak a little bit louder in order to be able to communicate effectively with you. So details about things like face masks, what you need to do when you come to campus, how can you come to campus, what places can you access, that kind of thing. For the classes that are not meeting on campus, you can take a look at the return to campus plan if you go to lfcc.edu/coronavirus. It will come up in the return to campus plan there.
All right. Well, those are all the questions that we at the SGA have put together. And with classes right around the corner, I believe it's the 24th for 14-week courses. Is there anything that anyone wants to say in terms of this fall semester?
We're just really excited to be back in the classroom and working with students with a very diverse background. And, you know, we've always been committed to students, and our motto or slogan is your future is our focus. And I think that's still very true today. And we just look forward to helping you partner and be a part of your educational journey.
And I'd just like to reiterate that we so want you to contact us if you need anything. If you have any question, big or small, we are literally here to help you. That's why we love teaching, is to help you understand everything. So don't think to yourself, should I ask them that? No, contact me, ask me, I want to talk to you. So I really, really encourage you to take advantage. And like was mentioned earlier, if the office hours don't seem to really coordinate with your schedule, like Professor Dodson said, reach out and we can definitely work something else out, because again, our goal is to help you succeed.
And I think the really cool thing about this video, if I may say, is that we probably don't all look like what you think of as the normal professor. So we're really excited to be here, and we're all very different too, and we have very diverse interests, and we're hoping to help you explore yours as well.
All right, thank you for all those positive, inspiring words. We are very excited as a student for this upcoming semester. And we at the SGA, we're open to any students as well. If you have any questions about clubs or any interactions that you may be curious about, we are also giving away student swag bags. I'll be there at campus today from 3 to 7. So hopefully you all see this video before 7 o'clock. Come get your swag bag. Please check your weekly emails, the Campus Live newsletter that Mr. Lambert puts out. Very informal or informational, super formal. It's very well made. I'm quite surprised how well he does it. And if anyone else would like to say some closing words or have anything else to say, please.
Hey, Ben, I wanted to ask you, when does SGA meet for the first time?
So we've been having weekly Zoom meetings of the SGA, and I believe that is open for any students to come join us. We're going to be having our own little panel information session similar to this. It is, I believe, September 1st. I gotta check the Google Calendar.
Yes.
All right, September 1st.
Yep.
And we're
September
also
1st at 12:30.
30. Wonderful. And then we're also having a Q&A similar to this for the administration, and I believe that is happening
Thursday, August 27th at 5:30 p.m.
Yes, definitely. Just found it on the calendar.
Okay.
And make
Thank
sure
you.
the students invite the instructors too. I've been enjoying some of the different activities that Student Activities has been putting on. So the bingo, and there's been some karaoke and some different things. So
Yes, you all are invited to just about anything that we host. Like, we want you to come and see our students. And Amber Foltz sent me an email today and said how much fun she had handing out goodie bags last night or yesterday. And I was like, yep, it's good for the soul to see your students.
Well, also, just to throw something from the Office of Student Life, for anybody that is watching this recorded session, you have a chance to win some giveaways. I'm sharing my screen in a second, as soon as my computer catches up with my mouth. You can win an iPad mini, AirPods, or a Nintendo Switch. My computer does not want to cooperate.
Yeah, we can't see your screen, Chris.
It hates me.
I can do it if you need me.
There it goes.
Oh, you got it.
Okay. Okay, so students only, sorry, faculty. You can go to tinyurl.com/LFCC-summer 2020 and submit that you attended today's panel with our faculty. And then we will announce our winners on Monday, August 24th in the student email that goes out from engage@lfcc.edu. Make sure to submit that before Monday morning.
I wish I was a student again. Thank you guys.
Yeah, thanks so much. Keep these questions coming.
Have a great first week, and again, reach out to us for anything.